We all do it all the time. We make assumptions. Now, they say assumptions are the termites of relationship. Why? Because they just eat away at the relationship without you even realizing it. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the negative effects of assumption and how we can actually deal with it so we're not damaging our relationships.
Yeah. Hello and welcome. This is Relationship Real Talk. My name is Julius and Eniolu.
And I'm Mary Eniolu. We are your hosts on the show where we talk all things relationship, always keeping it real.
So today we are talking about how to deal with assumptions in ourselves, not necessarily in other people, because we all have our various assumptions about things and about people. Somebody said assumptions are the lowest levels of knowledge because they're not based on facts. Often they're based on feelings, and feelings are fickle. They're not a reliable source of information. So, what are the kind of negative assumptions? How do we identify negative assumptions, and how do we deal with them?
I think the first thing for us to do is to acknowledge that we all make them.
Oh yeah.
We all make them, and it's natural, because when you come across someone or you walk into a room, you have an interaction, you have an engagement. We are human beings, so we form judgments all the time. We're constantly just forming judgments, and it happens within a split second. In my line of work, diversity and inclusion training is one of the things that I do, and I teach people how to recognize their bias. And it's similar to those assumptions that we make. You assume somebody is not very clever because they can't speak English very well.
Yeah.
You assume somebody is not friendly because they come into the office and they tend to keep to themselves.
Yeah.
So we just make these judgments. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And so it's judgments. And
it's a bias as well.
It is. It can be a bias.
Yeah, it's a bias. You just assume that person doesn't like me because the way they look at me, or because they never talk to me. Based on what? Just that they don't talk to you.
Yeah, and it's going on in our head. And like you said, assumption is the lowest level of knowledge. But the problem is, even though it is not correct knowledge, it is knowledge. And the real problem with making assumptions is that we act on it.
Yeah.
So those assumptions determine how we respond to the person, how we deal with the person, what the decisions we make. And so it affects the results and the outcomes that we get, all based on what is not true.
That's right.
So that's the danger of it. That's the danger of it. So
and the risk that you face in that is you lose out on the value of that individual, because every person is valuable.
And they bring value.
They bring value because, they're valuable because they have value to offer. So when you lose out on the relationship that you could have had with them based on your wrong assumption, you lose out on the value that they can bring into your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in order for us to be the best that God intends for us to be, we need to seek the best of all people. We need to desire the best for all people and to expect the best of all people.
And we talk about this in our book, 30 Ways to Divorce-Proof Your Marriage. There's a whole chapter that is dedicated to assumptions. So we encourage you to get that book, read it. It will be of tremendous value to you. I often say this, I say, we do life how we view life. Right? So how we see things is how we do things. Our perception will determine our approach will determine our attitude will determine the actions we take, which will determine the results we get. So our view of life determines what we do and the results we get. And our view of life is based on, very often, the assumptions that we make. So if I'm wearing a pair of blue tinted glasses, for instance, everybody in this world can try and convince me that the world is not blue. But guess what? The world is really going to be blue to me. because I'm wearing a pair of blue tinted glasses. I'm gonna be like, what do you mean it's not blue? I can see blue. So it's the same with assumptions. It might not be, and even perception on life, it might not be the reality, but it becomes your reality. It becomes your reality. So the first thing I think is, before we even talk about how we address it, what you talked about, one of the negative effects, the fact that you don't get the value from that person. But the other thing as well is it can cause misunderstandings. Unnecessary misunderstandings, because you're coming from A and the other person is actually coming from B, but you're assuming that they're coming from C, and so already you have that misunderstanding. And of course, when there's misunderstanding, you're not going to get the results that you need to get.
Absolutely. And because we said everybody needs somebody. You know? No man is an island. That's a very wise saying, because we all need each other. But if I'm going to go around the world and just assume, because people say things that are radically erroneous. Black people are.
Or men are.
Or white people are. And we just allow that. Or they can even say northerners are, or southerners. No, let me find out. Don't sell me your own erroneous assumptions about people. Because how many times in life have you found out that they've told you people in a certain place, they're not nice, or that person is not nice, and you became best friend with them? Just because you disallow somebody's error to mar the way you see or the way you deal with them. So it's super important that we free ourselves of all these baggages. They are baggages because they add unnecessary weight to you, and weight are unnecessary when you got far to go. They zap you of energy. You're depleting energy to unnecessary courses. You're losing out, personal energy serving silly stuff. Free yourself of those things. Go into life expecting the best of people, expecting the best of yourself, and expecting the best for the universe.
Absolutely. And I think it was the last episode I was talking about having positive expectations and making positive assumptions. The thing is, very often when we make assumptions, we make negative ones. So knowing that we will make assumptions anyway, I would say the first thing to do is to train yourself to make positive assumptions. So I'll give you an example. So I walked into this, I didn't walk in. I was commissioned to deliver training, public speaking training to this company. It was a construction company. The first time I've worked with a construction company.
Muslim, I guess.
Well, there you go. So I'm sitting, preparing for this session, and I'm thinking, they're going to be Muslim men. They're probably going to be big men. They're probably going to have tattoos. And they're probably going to be hard men. Rough talking because they're in the construction industry. And here I was just painting this picture, that was making me feel like, are you ready for this? Do you feel like you can really do this? And then I caught myself. What are you doing? I caught myself. So that's the first thing you need to do. You need to catch yourself. And I started to say, no, it's going to be awesome. They're going to love me. What's there not to love about me? It's going to be an amazing session. They're going to get a lot of value from it. I just changed the narrative and started to just say something different about the session. And I walked in. I had 2 sessions with them, with 2 different sets of managers. And it was amazing. Fantastic feedback. Now, if I had walked in with that assumption of they're not going to be friendly, they're not going to catch on to what I'm saying, they're going to be too hard, guess the attitude with which I'm going to present the training.
The same
attitude.
Predictably,
the outcome is going to be exactly what I thought.
Exactly.
So we can change the outcome by just changing the assumption we're making in the first place.
Wow. That is very profound, because many times in our lives we produce the result that we hated.
Yes.
You don't want to be discriminated against, but you're saying to yourself, that guy is not going to like me. He's going to discriminate against me. And then when they do, you go, I told you, he's not going to like me. No, as a man thinks.
Yes.
So you see, that is the power of attraction. I don't believe in the law of attraction, but the law of attraction is true.
Well, the law of attraction is biblical.
You know, in the sense, it is true in the sense that you attract what you believe. You know, you thought about it, and that's how it's going to be, and that's how it, because you are the prophet over your life. How about going around? You know, some people are going to say, "Oh no, don't do that. Life is too difficult, too complicated for you to be that simple." Expect the best of life. Expect the best of other people. It's simple, it's risky, but it's worth the risk.
But listen, if you say it's risky, let's look at the risk. Let's look at the maths, right? So if things are hard, if people are really mean in that office, and you go into the office assuming that they're going to be kind to you, they're going to be wonderful, they're going to be generous, will it make the situation worse or better?
It will make it better.
If they really are kind, are generous, are wonderful, and you go in assuming that they will be kind, they will be wonderful, they will be generous, will it make the situation worse or better?
No, it will make it better.
But if they are good and kind and generous, and you go in assuming that they're horrible, will it make the situation worse or better?
It will make it worse.
There you go. So whether a situation is good or bad, making positive assumptions will make it better. If a situation is good or bad, making negative assumptions will make it worse. So you lose absolutely nothing by always focusing on making positive assumptions. Remember, it's not about them, it's about you. I know we said in the previous episode, don't make it about you, make it about them. But let me explain what I mean. In this scenario, when I was getting ready for this training, I decided they're not going to determine how my training session goes.
Exactly.
So even if I walked in that day and they were not friendly, they are not going to determine how my training session goes. That's what I meant by it's not about them. I am the trainer. I bring the energy into this room. I bring the energy. I set the pace. I determine how this is going to go. And so I had to switch how I was thinking. And I always go to the end after my sessions to determine the feedback I'm going to get, right? So if I want the positive feedback, I have to deliver on the front end. And so that's how it is. And the other thing is, when we make negative assumptions, we erode trust. Because we're now cautious.
Okay.
We're now cautious. The person hasn't done anything to breach our trust, but we just telling ourselves all these negative stories about the person. And so we're now holding back from being free in how we're engaging with the person. And so when there's no trust, there's no relationship.
Yeah, and that is so profound, because believe it or not, there are people who go into marriages with negative assumptions. Man, you can't try. You know when people want to tell you a fabulous lie, their face, their mouth tells the story. Man, be careful. Be very careful with men. Why? What is it? Are they going to bite my head off?
They're talking from their own previous experience.
Unfortunately, the bad advisor could be your mother. You see the way your father treated me? If you make yourself open, your husband will do the same to you. Maybe, but maybe not. Of course, you're not going to be rude to your mom and say, you don't know what you're saying. But what am I saying? Don't inherit erroneous assumptions. Make positive assumptions about life. Say to yourself, life is going to yield me the best that I deserve. And you will attract the best that you desire, because the expectations of the righteous, the Bible says, will not be denied. In other words, you determine your experience.
It's powerful. It really is. It really is. People say things like you're deceiving yourself, but I'd rather deceive myself and get the results that I want than to be wise in my own eyes and make up the result that I don't want. One of my mentors says, you will get what you fight for. You will get what you fight for. Think about that. So people will always say things like, oh, life always throws me bad balls. Or life is always unfair to me. Or everybody might try it and it works for them, but for me, you're fighting for what you don't want by saying all of that. So don't be surprised when it keeps showing up in your life. And what we're saying is, start to fight for what you want. Start to assume it will work out for you rather than it will not work out for you. Start to assume people will like you rather than they will not like you. Start to assume that people want to help you. Start to assume that people want to be kind to you. Because when you walk into a networking event, for instance, and you assume that everybody's going to like you, you feel more comfortable networking. But if you walk into a networking event and because people are engaged, people are, you can walk into a networking event and people are engaged, everybody's buzzing, everybody's having a conversation, and you can say, oh, these people are so insulated, they're not friendly. Or you could say, oh, this is a great networking event, everybody's buzzing, I need to find somebody to talk to. It's perception and how you see it. So changing your way of being, your way of viewing things will really make such a huge difference for you.
This is a great ingredient to self-development. Dealing with your assumptions, dealing with your thoughts, catch yourself, because that was what you did when you were preparing for that session at the construction company. You caught yourself thinking self-destructive thoughts. And you corrected it. The Bible says, bringing every thought to the obedience of Christ. As people of faith, we say, let your kingdom come. What does the kingdom of God looks like? The kingdom of God gives me unlimited potentials. And that's what I deserve, and that's what I'm going to get. I might bump into one or two cantankerous people along the way. I might fail here and there, but I'm not a failure. And, life may be hard here and there, but that's not my truth. I am going further because I expect the best of life. Believe me, it works.
I say to people, does the thought serve you? Does that thought serve you? So when you start to say, oh, my boss does not like me, so I'm preparing this report, but I know he's not going to commend me, I know he's going to criticize it. Does that thought serve you? Thoughts are 10 a penny. It doesn't cost you anything to think a positive thought, same as thinking a negative thought. If the thought does not serve you, change the thought. Because the minute you change the thought, you change your outcome, you change your life, you change the action you take. Honestly, our thoughts is the biggest thing that determines the outcome in our lives. And once we're able to change the way we think, it will change what we do and it will change the results that we get. So start to look at people from a positive place. If you find yourself thinking negative of someone, obviously, if there's blatant evidence, we're not saying bury your head in the sand like an ostrich and pretend the things that are evidence are not there. If there's blatant evidence that this is how this person is, yes, you can apply some of the other principles we've talked about when we're talking about how you get along with people. If you missed that, catch the last episode. You can apply some of those principles. But when you don't have anything to back up what you're saying or thinking or feeling, and it's just a thing of, I just don't like that person. You just love it when people talk like that. I don't know, there's just something about, no. Don't say there's just something about them. What is the something that is about them? What is it? If you can't put a finger on it, then you're making an assumption. Right? So test it. Of course, it might be intuition, it might be, spirit-led, perhaps even, but test it. Don't just assume that it is what it is. Test it.
It's almost natural, I would say. Because I find in myself sometimes, like, you just see somebody, you haven't even said a word, and you just know this is going to be a difficult relationship, But I make an effort and say, I am going to work on this relationship. And we may not become best of friends, but we're going to become friends. At least for the time that I'm here, it could be work, it could be whatever. For the time that I'm here, I'm going to be my better self.
And it might even be that you're right in reading the person. It might be that you're right in reading the person, that the person is unfriendly. But it doesn't mean every thought that proceeds from that is right. You might now say, oh, they're unfriendly because they don't like me. So they may be unfriendly, but it may be something else.
Yeah.
So always check. It may be that they're going through a tough time that is causing them to be unfriendly.
Yeah,
so you may be reading them right, but the underlying reason that you're giving to how they're being could be wrong.
Yeah.
So don't just assume. Don't just assume. And something else that you can do, even with every relationship, and it could be love relationship as well, is just ask.
Yeah.
Rather than assume, just ask. You know, when you said so and so, what did you mean?
Yeah.
You know, when you said so and so, I really didn't quite understand where you were coming from, right? So just ask for clarification, communicate, ask for clarification, ask them what they meant rather than assuming. You know, when you say you didn't want to go dancing, hint, hint. When you say you didn't want to go dancing, hint, hint. When you say you didn't want to go dancing, is it because you don't want to spend time with me?
Of course not.
Or is it just because you hate dancing? But somebody might think, oh, they don't want to spend time with me. That's why they don't want to go dancing with me.
I'm glad we came to the conclusion. You go there by yourself.
Right? So instead of making an assumption, ask questions. That's just so much easier.
It's great when you can afford yourself the opportunity to communicate. You learn a lot, you know, when you can communicate. You get over bridges and just paying attention to the situation as well. You know, and always bear in mind, if the results that I'm getting are not the results that I want, I definitely 100% can do something about it. And it starts with me. If you don't like the harvest, change the seed. Absolutely, yes. So we just had a question in the studio. Someone just asked us, so how do you deal with a situation where someone prefers to make negative assumptions and to have negative expectations just to save themselves the pain of disappointment when it doesn't work out how you expected it? And that is so common. Honestly, trust me, in my line of work, I see it all the time. It's common. And it's this fear of, it's the fear of failure, isn't it? So let me sabotage myself. It's self-sabotaging. Let me sabotage it before it goes wrong. At least I can deal with that.
Yeah. So I don't want to invest my time, my energy, my finances perhaps in this thing, and then it goes wrong. So let me just sabotage it from the start and save myself all that problem. And the problem is you are going to have what you ask for. That's the thing. You know, that's the problem. So my counsel or my advice would be, there's a lot, and I'm not going to say I'm just going to give you one answer and it will shift everything. There needs to be a reprogramming of your mindset. That's what needs to happen. You need to reprogram your mindset, because how you're thinking is what's bringing those things into your life. So you're going to need to do some internal work to shift that. But the one thing I will say that perhaps will help you is your mind is the most fertile field in the universe. Your mind is like the most fertile field in the universe. And listen to this. Your mind does not care what you plant in it. It will produce in abundance whatever you sow into it. So just as you're sowing that seed of fear, of failure, because you want to save yourself the pain of rejection, because you want to save yourself the pain of failure if failure happens, think about if you were sowing seeds of success, seeds of trust, seeds of advancement, seeds of abundance. That's going to be produced for you. So until now, you've been sowing the seeds thinking you're protecting yourself, but you're actually predicting the future that you don't want. Instead, start to sow the seeds that will give you what you want, and you will just be amazed. There's some people who think worst case scenario because they want to play devil's advocate. And to some extent, it's not such a bad thing, because, for instance, if you want to go into a business, it's okay to weigh the pros and the cons to say, okay, worst case scenario, I'm going to lose £5,000. But even then, I always say, don't stop with worst case scenario, because it's pointless you empowering the negative without empowering the positive. So think about worst case scenario, but now let's switch it. What of best case scenario? What happens if this succeeds? Because it's energy. Everything is energy. Your thought is energy. And so when you're thinking worst case scenario, it's creating a feeling in you. It's creating an emotion in you. It's giving you this negative vibes.
Feeding your brain.
And in the same way, when you create best case scenario, you're creating a different energy for yourself, right? So that is what I would say. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. You lose out if you avoid pain. You lose out if you avoid rejection. You are limited if you avoid failing. Failing is not what they say it is. Failing is a process for success.
It's just a step.
Absolutely. Somebody rejects you, you bounce back. You keep going. Because what if what you really need for your breakthrough level isn't there?
It might even be that failure. Because in that failure, you learn a lesson that unlocks the door for your next level. I always say failure is not final, giving up is. Failure is never final. Failure is your friend. Friends tell each other the truth. Failure is telling you the truth.
That is so powerful.
It's telling you the truth that there's something you're still missing. There's something you haven't learned. That's all it's telling you. So learn the lesson and move on. But if you never, it's your friend. If you never take the step to fail so you can learn, you will never grow. You will never grow. You will never grow. So failure is your friend and it's never final.
Absolutely. No man is a failure because they failed. That's it.
Yeah.
You pick yourself up and you keep going.
Just don't give up.
Quit. If you quit, you give yourself no chance to succeed. Another question we have from the studio is somebody living out an experience they've had before. Maybe they've been taken advantage of. Maybe somebody they trusted let them down. And so they allow that to now guide what they do in the future. It's natural to feel that way. You touch a hot thing. What do? You withdraw back. That's how your brain, is flee or fight. So your brain is protecting you by saying just stay in the safe area. But your best life is outside of your comfort zone. So if you allow yourself to limit yourself to your experience, your best is behind you.
That's right.
In order to harvest the best that is yet to come, you're going to have to take risks.
Absolutely.
Your biggest breakthrough lies in the realm of risks. Risk in trusting people, expecting the best of people, opening up yourself to people. That's the only way you're going to achieve greatness.
You absolutely said it. I mean, because if you're allowing your past to determine your present and your future, then your best days are behind you. So if because of past pain, past experiences, you've barricaded yourself and put yourself in a prison because you don't want to trust, just because you don't want to be hurt again, it means you don't give yourself the opportunity to have a different kind of experience. You don't give yourself the opportunity to experience something different to what you experienced in the past. It's not easy, but that's where you can get counseling, you can get therapy, you can get help, because you really need to unlock that door so that the better future you have ahead of you opens up to you. So, yes, we all do it all the time. We make assumptions all the time, but we need to learn to challenge those assumptions. So we're not working on the basis of false knowledge. Ask the information, get the correct information so you can move forward with the right information. So we trust this has been helpful to you. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, do it now. Share this video so somebody else can benefit from it. And of course, like it. What's there not to like? And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Relationship Real Talk with your hosts,
Julius and
Mary Eniolu. We love talking about all things relationship and we always love keeping it real. See you next time.
Thank you.